would argue that those were actually superior prosthetic titties. Jesus, I can't say prosthetic anymore. They were superior prosthetic titties to the ones we saw in, say, Total Recall.
You're completely right, and that is also a trivia point.
Oh my god.
Welcome to the Skiffy and Fanty Show Torture Cinema!
No plot, only titties.
Okay, as far as taglines, I also was thinking, like, tits, ass, and swords, like, anything involving, like, those combinations of items, because there's plenty of all of that in this movie.
Well, you assigned it to me, and that's what you fucking get, Duke.
I appreciate it. No, I'm so glad that you referenced the titties, because that is important to the way that this whole episode's gonna go. So I'm Sean.
I'm Alex.
And on today's show, we will tell you what we're drinking and discuss 1984's The Warrior and the Sorceress, potentially one of the greatest Roger Corman-produced films ever made, which our patron supporters selected because they're absolute monsters. And in this case, they are, in fact, absolute monsters.
Good lord.
You bastards. We know who to fight. They voted for this. They had other options. And as always, you may have heard a new voice because we have a guest this time. This is longtime friend of the show and author extraordinaire, Mike Martinez, or Michael J. Martinez, depending on how you want to go about it. Welcome.
As long as you don't call me things that I would call this film, that's fine. Michael J. Martinez is the pen name. That's the fancy Amazon name. But hi.
Well, this is going to be fun. Mike, are you prepared?
I am prepared. I'm angry that I saw this film, but I am absolutely prepared to give some sort of summation of this. I believe that's the next step here.
No, first we're going to talk about our alcohol, because...
Well, we'll get to it. Don't worry, Mike. You'll have your moment to
There's
shine.
There's not enough alcohol.
There's not.
Oh, God. I mean, I feel like anger is the only appropriate reaction to what we've all been subjected to.
It was definitely an experience, to say the least.
So was having my wisdom teeth out when I wasn't put under general anesthesia. That, too, was an experience.
Well, it's an accurate description.
All right. But before we get to what we're drinking, our summary, and our painful review of this film, a friendly reminder that we want to hear from you. Share your comments with us about this and past episodes of at skiffyandfanty.com/listener suggestions. We want to put together a listener mailbag episode with your thoughts, questions, topic suggestions, and more, so get those thoughts in. And on that note, what are you drinking, Mike?
Well, I mean, my fiance and I are going to have a baby next week. Very
Yay!
excited about that. So I'm not drinking anything because if little Arabella decides to come early, I don't want to be shit-faced. I think that's kind of, very adult of me. So I'm drinking ginger ale. If I had my preference, I mean, this movie doesn't deserve anything other than Mad Dog, Night Train, rubbing alcohol.
Ooh, yeah.
One of my favorite cocktails is something that Chuck Wendig posted, which is, I just call it the Wendig just because it's his. But it's like 2 parts apple juice, 2 parts bourbon, 1 part ginger liqueur, 1 part lemon juice. It's really good. So there's your recipe. Go make that cocktail. Thank Chuck, because, he's really good with that.
Nice.
So what I'm drinking is a delicious beer. It is called a Colorado Native, and it is made with Olathe sweet corn, which is not to be confused with Olathe, which is in Kansas. Boo hiss. But actually, Olathe is down by Black Canyon, and they have fucking amazing corn, which has been coming into the grocery stores for like the last couple weeks, and we've been having so much corn. It's been so good. Unlike this movie.
Nice.
What are you drinking, Sean?
Well, in my comically large glass, which is really for beer, but I wanted something that I could sufficiently dilute what I'm consuming, because otherwise I would be in pain. And you will notice while I'm drinking this, because they're watching me with video, I have started pinching my nose while I drink, because what's in this has been causing problems, because I'm not drinking with the straw, which I realize is my fatal mistake. Because this is a spicy ouzo mule.
Ooh.
It has my own habanero-infused vodka, which I made in-house. The vodka I didn't, but the habanero infusion I did. with some regular vodka and then ouzo, and then a little bit of lime juice, ginger ale, and a little bit of grapefruit juice and ice. And it is fucking amazing. But the problem is that I let my habanero infused vodka steep a little too long, and so anytime a bubble hits my nostril, it's like habanero up all the way through. And I don't have a straw because I didn't think this through. So somehow I'm going to finish this today. But there's actually not as much alcohol in here as you'd think. But I'm still going to be in varying degrees of pain because this is going to burn the whole time.
He says that, but we have no way of telling.
Not like this movie.
No, yeah. Well, this means it is time to get to the main affair of the show. We said what we're drinking. It's now time for our guest, Mike, to tell us, what is The Warrior and the Sorceress about?
Yes, do tell us. What was it about? Because I don't know.
I mean, I'm still asking myself ever since I saw it last night. Ostensibly, The Warrior and the Sorceress, made in 1994, looks like it was made in 1964, is the story of a village. A village that has a camp of two different clans, tribes, gathering of idiots, led by two equally incompetent, but in their own special ways, petty tyrants. Into the midst of this walks a lone swordsman. In the credits, he's named Kane. He's played by David Carradine, and it's such a ripoff of Kung Fu, it's not even funny. But they don't actually call him Kane. They just call him the Dark One, or the Wanderer. What they don't call him is what he actually is, which is low-rent Luke Skywalker. Anyway, low-rent Luke Skywalker comes in, and the main point of contention in this village is that there's a well. It's the only source of water for these two clans. And one clan is sitting there, the clan belonging to the strangely named Zeg the Tyrant. I would have a lot of Napoleonic issues if I was named Zeg. So his guys are sitting around that well guarding it. And then there's another guy, and I keep forgetting his name. I want to call him Bengay, but that's not it. Balkaz. Balkaz is the other guy who is basically just a sadly rotund man in diapers most of the time. I don't know how he actually can control a clan or warriors. He doesn't look like he's, honestly, like all there. Warrior comes in, pits one of the two tribes off against each other, along with a band of slavers. There is a sorceress, and like every woman in this film, distinctly unclothed, trying to have eyes for the sorceress, who has, who doesn't. She gets traded around like basically baseball cards. Kane pits them against each other. All of them die. The sorceress does manage to make a magic sword, which actually doesn't seem to do much except chop through an anvil at one point. Doesn't glow, doesn't do much else. And everybody dies except for the villagers, who are wearing the extra uniforms from the Jawas in Star Wars, and except for the women, of course, who don't get clothes. And then, with a renewed purpose, the once holy warrior Kane, Luke Skywalker, wanders off to fight more injustices.
That's basically the movie. Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely more than I got out of the movie, because I think my brain just stopped functioning about the time, I don't know, low-rent Luke Skywalker was like, give me fake made-up money! And the guy was like, we're now going to haggle. Well, this weird
I want Terex.
puppet
Give me all the Terex.
talks
What
to
is
me.
money? What is money? I want 100 Terex. No, I want half the weight of a slave Terex. Give me all the Terex. Why? What can you buy with Terex? Can you buy water? No, you can't buy shit with Terex, but I want Terex. Give me all the Terex.
I mean, honestly, it's like, what is this economy based on if they can't actually have water to drink?
I don't know.
All the gold in the world isn't going to help you. How did you make weapons and swords if you have no water to temper the steel? I mean, look, we're looking for sense and logic in a movie there. It doesn't exist.
There is none. Like, the world building in this is like the laziest shit ever. I mean, just the very premise of the movie is some lazy shit. It's a bunch of villagers around one well that can clearly, all of them can consume, and they're all at odds with a gang of slavers who look like mutant dog people. And instead of just saying, you know what, maybe we could kind of like work together, we all get to enjoy the well, and we can stop the slavers, which are clearly a threat to our power, they're just like, no, we're gonna fight each other, because Ballsack and Zeg the Tyrant all are just like angry at each other because they have some pent up like romance going on that they just don't want to fulfill. I don't know what their deal is, but they need help.
Yeah, I mean, Well,
Oh, there's the lizard. There's the freaking lizard thing that like
yeah,
speaks to
no, that's what I
Ballsack.
mentioned. It was like his puppet. And also, I feel like one important plot point that has been left out is not only is there a water shortage in this sad world that where it's just one set that is from the local Renfest, but there's obviously a desperate cloth shortage because none of the women get to wear anything other than bikini bottoms. It's very concerning. Can you imagine the amount of titty sunburn that these people have in a desert?
It's a lot.
This film was written by a 12-year-old discovering puberty for the first time. And it is a misogynistic piece of crap
Oh yeah.
on so
I
many
mean,
levels. And it's also just poorly written, poorly edited. Am I going on too soon? I feel like
Oh
we're
no.
just cutting to the
No,
chase
no,
here.
no.
I'm
We're
sorry.
fine. It's totally fine. You are not wrong, by the way, that this film was basically created by a 12-year-old discovering puberty. Well, John C. Broderick, who is one of the writers and the director of this film, was probably not literally 12. Mentally, he certainly was, because apparently David Carradine has said that the reason the main actress, Maria Socas, spends the entire film basically buck naked with the exception of a little bit of cloth like around her neck and her most southern nether bits is entirely because John C. Broderick really thought she was hot and just wanted her to be topless like the entire fucking movie. There wasn't like any other reason other than he just wanted to see some titties. That's it.
I mean, like, I had a feeling that's what was going
Wow.
on when, Laurent Luke Skywalker freed the plot point well from whoever was holding it, and immediately everybody rushed it and was, like, taking water out of it. And then, out of nowhere, 3 women wearing almost nothing sprang up onto the poles that hold up the sunshade and started, like, pole dancing. And I was just like, really? Really?
That was the weirdest thing, and that just let me know right there that we were not in for simply a bad movie. We were in for a deeply, deeply angering film. That this got made and people put their names there. I mean, mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing.
It's kind of wild that this film got made the way that it got made, and yet here we are watching a Roger Corman produced terrible sword and sorcery film from the era in which he made 10. He produced 10 such increasingly terrible films from this era. And so I ask you, Roger Corman, what were you thinking? What was going through your mind when you made this?
Was he just high for the entire decade? Like,
I think so. He must have been.
I mean, it's not like he invested much in this film because the acting is horrible, the writing is atrocious, the sets look like they're made out of the cheapest cardboard possible.
They
The
are
music, I
cheap.
think I could swear that the music I've heard it before, like they just cut and pasted it from other
It
films.
feels like the music was like the guy who was told to make the music like got very different director's notes about what kind of movie it was, because it starts and it's very clearly like a Sergio Leone like western, and then there's like
Right.
very like grand, like it's almost Dragonheart fantasy moments, and then there's like Mad Max music at one point. It's like it's all over. Like, don't get me wrong, I liked the music. It doesn't belong in this film, right? The only music that fits is the beginning music when he's just wandering in the desert. It's like, okay, that's appropriate music for this moment. But then anytime they have like big fanfare music, it's totally off kilter from anything going on in the movie.
well, and everyone needs to understand when we're talking about music, we're talking about what was put together by a man with one keyboard. Like, it's just it is a one-man band on a synthesizer. That's all it is.
Okay, we got to get to actually get talking about the specific things for the film. And given that we all definitely don't like this, we're going to start with likes and end with dislikes. So, Mike, as our lovely guest, what is your like for this movie?
Good luck.
I actually have two.
Hot damn.
My first like was that thank God this movie was only an hour and 17 minutes long, including credits.
You're wrong.
That is
right.
a valid
Full
like.
stop.
That is often a like that I use at times like this.
Yeah, it's mercilessly short. Mercifully or
I mean, it
mercifully?
actually, I don't even know if like added cinematic time to kind of fill in the holes of exposition that somehow were omitted from the script would have helped.
No,
No.
no.
So I'm just glad that we didn't have to find that out because I don't think the exposition would have helped. It could have actually hurt. So short, good job.
If you had given this man extra minutes, he would have just filled it with titties. Like,
Well, it turns out that,
he
by
would've
the
just,
way,
like pull the thing and open the titty hatch.
the director got in a very heated argument with Roger Corman and basically quit the movie during editing, and so Roger Corman had to edit this. So there may very well have been a lot of extra titties, because there were a lot of titties in this movie. So many. So many.
Including, oddly enough, a
God.
4-pack on one person,
No,
which
stop. That's my life.
please continue, because I want to know how you could like that, but I respect that you do.
Tell us why you love the quad pack, Alex. Go for it.
So, I want to say that the prosthetic...
I think I know where you're going. I don't disagree.
the prosthetic titties on the lady with the 4-pack were actually shockingly good. I was impressed by them. It was only like during close-ups that you could tell they were not jiggling quite correctly. And I would argue that those were actually superior prosthetic titties. Jesus, I can't say prosthetic anymore. They were superior prosthetic titties to the ones we saw in, say, Total Recall.
You're completely right, and that is also a trivia point.
Oh my god!
There are two trivia points that aren't really about this movie so much as people's opinions about the quality of the quadruple titties in this movie. One of which is specifically about Total Recall and how they are, by comparison, anatomically correct, which I don't know how you determine that, because there are no humans born with four breasts as a regular recurrence that we could measure against. And then the other one is just one person's discussion about how much they liked that there was a four-breasted human and how that was just correct within the concept of biology in some weird way, which involved like talking about like some rule about how in mammals you have as many, I guess, breasts as double to the number of babies that you could typically have in a quote unquote litter. I don't get it. But like they went on for like a full paragraph explaining their theory of why humans typically only have 2 breasts.
So the listeners can't see what my face is doing right now, but it's not good.
It's not good.
What my face is doing.
I mean,
it's not good.
which is why you never read the posts, the messages, the trivia, because somebody really thought way too hard about 4-packs on a single person, and
just the lady with 4 boobs.
We need to talk about the context of this character.
I want character in quotes.
Yeah, character in quote. Like, she never, I don't think she ever even actually speaks, yet she appears on the fucking poster, because I Googled this thing to see what I was getting into, and I was like, why does that woman have 4 boobs? And then I waited almost the whole movie to find out, and I still don't know why she had 4 boobs, other than just, I don't know, I know way more about, like, the sexual fantasies of this director than I ever wanted to know
Right?
about anyone.
If you looked at the poster for this movie, you would get an impression of a very different movie. Because for one, the David Carradine character on the movie poster is ripped. Almost, you might argue, Arnold Schwarzenegger ripped. And in the movie, he is almost, I don't think we see most of his body.
Except for an unfortunate angle on his ass once or twice. You know, that loincloth was not doing him favors.
He's got, like, nice quads. That man has not skipped leg day.
Fair.
So, you know,
Sure.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, if I wanted to give you, like, my exceptionally shady like, I'd say, I mean, I'm really glad to see a movie that recalls a time before we expected all male stars to adhere to an unrealistic standard of masculine beauty.
I think that's fair.
Anyway, but back to the lady with the 4-pack. So, the context in which she shows up is, for some reason, Kane is, like, at a feast with Zeg. And, like, she shows up to do, like, a strip dance and gyrate everywhere with her 4-pack, mostly jiggling appropriately. And then she, like, gets on the table and, like, gets close to him and kind of, you know, is trying to get him to put, like, $1 into her waistband or something. And then I'm not entirely certain what happened next. I actually watched the scene several times because I was trying to figure it out, but I think some kind of like
Scorpion
stinger
dick
or snake like leaped out of her bathing suit region and attacked him.
It's a scorpion
which
dick.
was I was honestly very surprised. And really I think if then we want to step back and look at the gender narrative, then it is perhaps more queer than I expected. So, there we go.
It definitely comes out of fucking nowhere, though.
Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck just happened? Wind it back.
Yeah, this Zeg was going to use the Dark One, low rent Luke Skywalker, to further his evil schemes, but then he's going to sick the Scorpion Dick 4-pack woman on him. I mean, look, again, we're not expecting sense out of this, and you're right. I mean, she was packing a Scorpion Dick, and that's kind of cool. Maybe at least it's the most interesting thing in the film.
Oh, agreed. Jeff, who was there for the live watch, was very upset that there's this interesting, very, human adjacent person that's in this movie who has 4 breasts, a scorpion dick, and also does exotic dance. And yet that's the only time we see this character. We get nothing else.
She doesn't have a name.
She didn't have a name.
And he just fucking chokes her out on the table.
And his point was that in a world like this one, in which we already know that people who look different from traditional humans, right? We've got sort of dog-faced guys and the 2 fools who look kind of like they have giant noses and they're kind of weird looking, right?
Yeah,
you would think that he might have heard about 4-breasted scorpion dick people, because presumably there have been others, right? This is such a big deal, but apparently it was a shock to everybody except Zeg and his second in command that there was a 4-breasted scorpion dick lady. It's so strange. It's just that he just was he was playing Cards Against Humanity for weird fantasy tropes that nobody thought to come up with, and was just throwing them at the wall and hoping stuff would stick. It's just bizarre.
That is a good word for it. But anyway, the prosthetics were pretty good.
They weren't bad.
They were. I mean, somebody actually put some thought into that.
Yeah, they did a great job matching her skin tone.
Yeah, I did. I was I'm not gonna lie. When we were watching this, I was I would really like some good close-ups where she just kind of. I want to know how much effort, because she was moving, right? So you couldn't quite see them really well, and I was like, how well did they really do these? Because that's a lot of effort and time to have to sit there and have them attach 2 extra breasts to your body. You'd want them to at least look good.
I will say, I watched the scene and then I actually called Karina down to watch the scene again because I was it's the lady with the 4 boobs. This is apparently the only time we're going to get to see her, so you got to see this. I mean, our verdict was basically when she was upright and dancing, they looked great. When she was gyrating on the table, not as good. The angle didn't look as good because you could tell they were not appropriately. They did not have the right fluid properties.
Fair point.
That's a great way to put it.
Didn't know you were signing up for this podcast, did you?
I didn't know I was signing up for this movie, and yet here I am. So this is how much I love y'all.
Yep. Anytime Alex is on, there's an increased chance that we're going to talk about genitals.
Okay.
So, genitals are things adjacent
to
them.
You talk about pegging Mr. Darcy once, and then you're suddenly the dick guy. I don't know.
Okay, we did talk about dick-related objects in 2 subsequent episodes, including a 25-minute conversation about dildos at the Mall of America, so...
Okay. All right. Guess what I'm listening to later.
This show is not clean. It is not for children, and we have given up on making torture cinema anything otherwise.
That's wise.
I think it's my turn.
Yes. What did you actually like
turn.
about this thing?
Everything I thought I was gonna like, it ruined. I thought I was gonna like the lizard lady, and then it ruined it. And then I thought, oh, well, maybe there'll be some good sword fighting. No, that was ruined.
Oh, God, no.
I thought there'd be...
Oh, it was embarrassing.
It's embarrassingly bad.
A baby with a butter knife would have gone better.
Honestly, anything would have gone better in this film. And so, I gotta tell you, it's really difficult for me to find anything else in this movie to like, except that I did not entirely hate Anthony DeLongis as Keith which is a terrible name. Why did he let them name him Keith? As Keith, Zeg's captain, because actually,
Oh, the shirtless
the
guy.
shirtless guy.
I wondered what his name was.
His name was Keith with an F, because that's what you name your kid when you're in a fantasy world called Ura. Yeah, and part of the reason I liked him is he was not totally terrible, despite the fact that at this point in his career, he was not primarily known as an actor. He was, in fact, the stunt coordinator for the entire movie. And there'll be a reason for why that will sound really questionable for a film we just made fun of for not having great sword fights. We'll get back to that in a hot minute. But Anthony DeLongis, I thought, came off as an asshole very well. He obviously was very fit. He could, in fact, punch a dude in the face and make him cry. And he's kind of handsome. So I'll give him a little credit there.
In a kind of a porn star or 80s porn star kind of way, like mustache, perfectly feathered hair. I mean, like this is the epitome
a
of
little oily.
late 70s, early 80s hair. Enough canola oil all over him to fry up nice. I mean, it's just was... Seriously, if there was just sex in this movie, it actually would have been a decent porno.
Yeah! Dude, like... Oh my god, that is literally what Karina said to me, where she was like, if they just had sex, it would have been a better movie.
As it is, you just have men walking around, a couple of them shirtless. Thankfully, the men who should not have been shirtless remained with their shirts on. Sadly, no women actually were seemingly allowed clothes on the set of this film, but that's the extent of it. And then just really bad sword fighting and just the props, the costumes, the special effects were all hand-me-downs, I think. It was like the Lucasfilm garage sale.
I mean, it was basically like if we reimagine this movie as like an actual like a porn film, it would basically just be like porn in somebody's terrible D&D setting.
Yeah.
Actually, that's my second like.
That was your second like? That this is this is your someone's D&D setting?
No. It's that... And actually, I actually have a third like now. The second like is that, so I've done critiques for World Builders, the charity, which I'm now on the board. So let me take this quick moment to say, donate to World Builders. They do fantastic things. Worldbuilders.org. So I auctioned off a critique every year. And one year, some 16-year-old's parents got a critique of his writing and won my critique. And the kid's super excited. It's based on his D&D campaign. What I like about this film is that it is exponentially far worse than this kid's raw but somewhat talented work. And so it gives me hope. And if you're listening, kid, I hope you know that if this piece of shit film can get made, you've got a shot. Because your writing was far better than something that actually was made in Hollywood. So you go, you crazy dreamer. You go. That's what this film can do.
You crazy diamond. Okay, so then I want to know what your actual third like is, because now I'm just fascinated. You just have a very sunny outlook.
So, my fiance and I have been together throughout the lockdown and COVID. Living together, working, side by side, everything else. And with all of that said, she watched this film voluntarily with me, and our relationship survived it. So we can do anything. We will be in it for the long run. And she still loves me. She said so today. I checked.
Aww, that's so cute.
I am not going to ask an inappropriate question about how many boobs she has, but I want
He put his fingers up for that one. We won't tell the listeners how many he put up.
Perfectly normal.
I'm sorry. I apologize as a human being that it even crossed my mind.
I respect the hell out
of it.
I gotta be honest, like, I just don't. I feel like if God wanted there to be more boobs, he would have given us more hands. We would be fucking Goro. Right? Like from Mortal Kombat. If there were supposed to be 4 breasts, like, we would be Goro so we could have because otherwise, like, I just don't understand, like.
But at that point, why don't, like, cats and dogs have more than 4 limbs?
It's because you actually understand what boobs are for.
Well, yeah.
Sean does not.
I don't.
Sean is focusing on the ancillary purpose
It's
rather
really
than the
secondary to
evolutionary
tertiary,
one.
man. for most
I'm
things.
sorry.
I'm just
I
saying
mean-
that this scorpion dick four-breasted woman is from the Mortal Kombat universe, and she is Goro's girlfriend. So
I mean, I'm just saying that we've all forgotten what the actual primary purpose of boobs is, which is to be there so your cat can step on your, right dead center. So actually, the four-breasted lady was invented by a cat, so a cat could get, like, all four nips at the same time.
oh God,
Wow.
even that just makes me uncomfortable.
No, I mean, yeah, I could see where that would actually hit. But no, this was still a 12-year-old boy's dream. It really was.
I mean, it is.
It
Yeah,
is.
this whole
Whoa, what if a girl had four boobs?
And what if it like was a tentacle thing, dude, that looked like from Little Shop of Horrors?
What was that?
it's I don't know. It's awful. It was horrifying.
What was it even for?
I mean,
was
it
so
was yet
confused.
another
Like,
Star Wars ripoff. It was like the trash compactor thing, but done really, really poorly. It's just a
Yeah.
thing with tentacles, and then it had, Audrey's head and a big gaping mouth, and it should have sang, and it didn't, and then it just died. It's supposed like it would take 20 men to kill this thing. Well, Luke Skywalker handled that in about 15 seconds. I mean, we didn't even have time for the music to ramp up before that thing was just dead.
if that thing had sung, this movie would have been so much better.
If this were a musical, it would be much better. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, gang, let's write a musical.
With different people who can actually sing.
Just imagine, like, the nice lady who spends all the time shirtless because the director was a creep. She could just sing a song about how all she really wants is a shirt.
I'm just imagining. I'm Naja and I want a shirt. I'm Zeg and I say no. Please, no, please, no.
You should see him
I'm
right
Kane
now.
and I'm here to cause trouble.
I don't really care, but I do. Somehow, like, Kane had an arc, but I missed it entirely. Like, you just, like, at the end, he's like, oh, wait, no, they're called, he's supposedly this holy warrior called Homerak, which is
Which I was just like, what the
which is Fire Sail
Or
Jedi.
in Spanish, an Oberak.
Right.
Because that's what is translated into Spanish as.
Homerak. And basically,
Homerak.
Fire Sail Jedi gets his faith restored after doing nothing he wasn't planning to do already, which is basically kill people and be a dick. And then he's going to go forth and, achieve holy victory. And, like, okay, but, I mean, what was holy about this? There was nothing holy about this film. Nothing
Well,
sacred.
he put some holes in people, so I guess there's that.
Oh, boom, boom.
Did he, though? Did he?
Not
I didn't see
okay.
it.
Well,
Yeah,
he
those
cut some
swords didn't
limbs
actually
off.
land. Well, there was an arm that got cut off, but honestly, it looked very, very, very bad special effects.
It wasn't very good.
Very, very Spencer's.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if the choreography is a dislike for someone.
Yes.
Okay, never mind. I will come back to it then with my factoid about that when we get
I mean,
there.
the problem is, like, when we get to dislikes, like,
it's a list.
honestly so hard to come up with like a specific one to just hone in on because the entire thing is so awful.
I mean, at least we get to group it into themes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Let's get to dislikes now. So, Mike, give us your dislike.
I mean, I've mentioned it, but it's just the rampant fucking misogyny of it all. It's just like,
Yeah.
no, I mean, you got, everybody's running to the well. It's when the warriors are killed. Hey, we actually get water. But apparently only men are excited about getting water. Women are like, oh my gosh, we get to dance naked. And they just sort of dance on the post around the well. Like, the sorceress, okay, like, she's kept pretty much naked except for a thong and some, like, really random drapery that doesn't cover anything. And I thought finally when she was rescued, and then she was handed off and used as a tool and rescued again, I thought maybe she'll finally get clothes. But no. As a high priestess of this religion where the Homeraks do their thing, she still don't get clothes. Like, it just, and two women, and one being the 4-pack scorpion dick, and the other just some poor soul, just die for the entertainment of the men around them. Can we stop? This is like the worst. This was like the most bald-faced, and they made decent movies in the 80s. They did.
They
Thoughtful, interesting movies. I mean, you're only 1 year away from Return of the Jedi, and maybe, 2 to 3 years in the other direction for Highlander, which, if you want to talk about actual sword fights,
Better.
better.
Mm-hmm.
This is also the era when Grace Jones is in Conan.
Exactly. You could have done better. And this is just like, no, no. We found the lowest common denominator, and then we dug deeper. We dug lower. So I just like I'm angry. The movie made me angry just on that point, and then the actual artistic horrors are another thing.
It is really kind of gross. Like, I don't mind nudity in a movie. You know, I enjoy it. It's fine. But, like, this is so much. It's so much nudity but like, none of it's tasteful. None of it is, like, there's no sexy scene.
No.
Really. Like, the closest we get is the four-breasted scorpion dick person. But, like, that's it's not really, by that point, it's not sexy. It's just kind of slightly uncomfortable.
You're just waiting for something bad to happen, and it does.
Yeah, it's pretty much what that's all set up
That
for.
poor woman gets choked for no reason.
I think the most clothed woman we see is technically the woman who gets murdered at the beginning with her baby, which we promptly forget about. Her baby's still technically alive.
I don't even remember that. So yeah,
no, I remember that, but then it never came back.
Yeah, and our hero just like ignores it. Like, he just ganked a mom and left the baby to burn to death in the sun. Well, let me rephrase that, because nobody gets a sunburn in this fucking universe. Because if so, is that the way the women dance? Is because like they want them to throw water on their breasts? Be like, oh.
I mean, that doesn't help.
That still doesn't help.
God, just the amount of like booby sunburn, like sunburn on your nips, man. Like,
I mean,
ooh.
There's a reason we invented things to wear. Because after a while, you start to realize, like, gosh, all of us just keep our chests and all, we're just getting red and burnt, and it hurts. Maybe we should put something over it to stop it. Oh my goodness, look at this sexy shawl I came up with. Great, we're gonna go to Walmart and buy more. Like, that's literally the trajectory of mankind. So, it's just bizarre.
That's not
it's
bad.
So ridiculous.
No, there was so much there that just, I mean...
Yeah, and Kane in his exceptionally sexy poncho. I mean, I just loved every time he was like gonna do combat, he was like, I'm gonna sweep my poncho out of the way to show off like my array of throwing knives.
It's his exact same costume from another movie.
Oh no.
Oh no.
They just took it from another movie he was in.
That would explain why it like did not thematically go with anything anyone else was fucking wearing. Like, no.
Not at all.
Like, there were a lot of, like, fantasy robes, but he was the only dude in a poncho, and I was just like, that's kind of weird, but okay.
I mean, at least Keith was mostly shirtless the entire movie. It didn't quite even out, but at least we got that.
We'll always have Keith.
Delicious Keith.
We will always have Keith. And his fantastic, well-conditioned hair.
Yeah.
Very well conditioned for his time. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
But I completely agree, Mike. This is horrifically sexist.
Oh.
This actually might be the most sexist movie we've seen. Maybe.
It's pretty up there.
I'm trying to decide if it's actually grosser than Baby Geniuses.
It's not. And the reason...
the Baby Geniuses has, like, the added, like, baby oogie factor that's really super gross.
And also the baby who makes, like, a sex joke with another baby.
Yeah.
And that...
But it's, like, up there with...
Mike doesn't understand. So when we watch this movie, it's meant for kids. And there's a moment when, like, I can't remember the joke is, but it's like a really overt sex joke that a baby makes to another baby. And I just stopped and went, holy shit. This movie is seriously having these kinds of jokes in a film for kids. It's almost as bad as the pre-edited version of Show Dogs, which I actually saw before they fucking edited that thing in the theaters, when all the people went, yeah, you're basically grooming children to be okay with molestation. Yeah. Also a movie for kids. This is the second time I'm going to tell this story, and I'm just going to tell you.
Oh my god, I have not even heard of it. What the fuck movie is this?
Show Dogs. So Show Dogs, before it was edited and resubmitted in theaters, had a... So the premise of Show Dogs, very briefly, it's a Rottweiler who's like rough and tumble street dog who like works for the police, basically, and he's like a dog police. And he gets paired up with another police officer, and they're supposed to go to one of those show dog competitions in order to infiltrate it to find someone who's doing something illegal, whatever, right? And so he has to get trained how to be a show dog, because that's not who he is. He's from the hood, right? And so he's like, really rough and tumble kind of dog. And there's a moment when he is being trained, because there's a thing that they do in show dogging, what I don't understand is, where they put their hand underneath like the genitals of the dog, right? I don't understand what this is for. I know nothing about show dogs, but it's a thing that they do. They like feel underneath there. And so there's a scene when the dog is being trained, and he's basically being told, go to like a happy place, while this person puts their hands on his nuts. Despite the fact that before that he bit the person because he was like, don't touch me there, that's not acceptable. They included this scene of him basically being conditioned not to get upset by this, so that he could do it at the actual show, which he then doesn't do. Then does. And they got understandably a lot of flack for this because it's super fucking gross in a movie for children. And so they removed it. But I saw the version in theater where that wasn't removed, and it was really uncomfortable. And I'm guessing it is not in any DVD Blu-ray version of the film, which good on them for removing it, but it never should have been filmed. It's nasty.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the existence of all of that, the baby geniuses, the show dogs, we need more diverse people than, emotionally stunted white dudes making movies.
I agree.
Yes.
Like, good God.
We also maybe need some people who, I don't know, can maybe think outside of themselves a bit more about what they're doing. Like, I don't know, someone definitely in this film should have stopped and said, okay, bro, like, you've had 87 breast shots at this point. You do not need 360 more. Like, let's maybe tap it at 75. Like, we don't need any more than this.
We're cutting you off.
Can we just get these people a cloak, a shawl, a napkin from the commissary?
A poncho.
I mean,
a poncho.
something.
That would have been great.
More ponchos.
Wouldn't it have been cool, at least at the end, if he brought in, like, a fuck ton of ponchos and just gave all the women ponchos, and then just, like, a bunch of women running around going, gosh, this feels so good. My breasts don't burn anymore.
That actually would have been, mildly redeeming for certain aspects of it, honestly. But no.
Anyway, all right. Well, let's go to Alex. What's your dislike?
Oh my god, the execrable fight choreography is just... It's like if you gave me a sword and no rehearsal and told me to go have a sword fight. That's the level it fucking was at. It was so bad. I mean, there's this one scene where he's like fighting someone and then a guy comes at him and you can tell he's supposed to do like this cool move where he like grabs the guy's arm and like is holding it and doing something with it, and he just sort of like fumbles for it, and that's the shot they kept. So I don't know if we just everything was one shot or what, but it was just so bad.
And wasn't this the dude from Kung Fu?
It's bad.
I mean, this is somebody who should have known a little bit more. So I'm wondering if Mr. Carradine was just not at his best in that moment.
Maybe he was drunk,
like, high. I think Sean may have something to say about this.
Like, maybe he couldn't see because like the sheen of boob sweat was like reflecting so badly he couldn't see anything. Just everywhere.
Well, let me tell you a story.
Tell me a story, Sean.
So, David Carradine, in a book about his life, talked about this movie, and one of the things that he said about this movie is, one, the reason why he had to fight with the wrong hand, because he was not, in fact, left-handed, he's right-handed, is that he busted his hand, and it may have occurred before shootings began.
Oh, is that why he always had, like, the glove on his right hand?
Yeah, he broke his hand because he was with, like, his girlfriend or fiance or whatever and punched a wall. I don't know the context in which he punched the wall because he doesn't say, but he punched the wall and he basically broke some fingers in his hand, so he had to wear that glove all the time because he couldn't. So he had to train with the arm that is not as dominant.
Okay.
But wait for it, because then he shoots himself in the foot, because he also says that he was really excited for people to see this film, even though he agrees it's not a good film, but because he was very proud of the choreography because of the fight style that he helped develop for the movie. I shit you not, this is something that David Carradine said.
There was a style? He literally just
wow,
kicked people in the booty with cute little booty kicks in the middle of this fight scene. He would parry them, they would slow walk forward, and then he would just kick them in the booty as they walked by, and then they would splay out. This was
It's bad.
I don't know what David was doing, thinking, or on, but okay.
I mean, and I can feel sympathy for no doubt what were their massive budget limitations for special effects during the fight scenes,
to say the least.
which is why his move every time was You know, other than the clumsy sword parries, which were not great, was like, and now I'm gonna, like, whack you in the stomach with my sword, and we're gonna pretend I disemboweled you and you fall over. That was, like, the move every fucking time. I have seen so much better sword combat from, like, the knights in the joust at the Ren Fair.
A couple of ketchup packets actually could have helped some of it. But
Yeah!
it's two distinct problems. One, yes, seriously, toddlers with better knives could have done more damage. Second, the special effects are such where they couldn't actually afford to have spatter. They couldn't actually fill a baggie with cranberry juice, strap it to some guy's gut, and just have it burst as David Carradine, with his magic sword style in his wrong hand, sort of brushed it against his gut.
I mean, the thing that makes it extra hilarious is, since I had, like, a free day today, I actually went and watched a good movie. So, before I came home and watched this movie, I went and saw The Protégé.
Nice.
With Maggie Q. You know, and that one has, like, a slight suspension of disbelief problem, because it wants me to believe that Michael Keaton could, like, fight Maggie Q to a standstill, which I do not buy. But still, like, the action is very good. And then I watched this fucking movie, like, half an hour later.
I mean, there is a thing to be said that fight choreography in the present has increased substantially from where it was even in the 80s. And that's just because they're spending more money on it, right? They put more money into the fight choreography. They definitely didn't put money into it. And I'm going to go out on a limb and assume here that almost anything Anthony DeLongis did here did not show up on screen. Because he is actually a fight choreographer. He does actually do stunt work. He's a professional. And I don't buy that the scenes that we have shot here are entirely his fault. I think this is the director not knowing fuck all about how to do any of this. He wanted to do like a really cool samurai fight scene, but he doesn't know how to shoot a samurai fight scene. And so instead of just admitting that and say, well, why don't we do some like really good shots where maybe like you mess with the shots a little bit so that you don't see the lack of viscera. He didn't do that. He just has like a whole fight scene where it's like 2 shots that he does, like where it's so blatantly obvious that he's hit them in the stomach, but he also hasn't done anything real. We're supposed to just imagine it.
I also want to do a shout out to the amazing scene where Zeg and Ballsack are, like, bringing their armies together.
Right, they're going,
like, I don't even know how to describe it.
Like 2 gangs of elementary school kids, like, you know, how they'll sort of face off against in the schoolyard, and they don't want to actually throw a punch because somebody could actually get hurt, but they don't like each other, and they formed a little clique, and they kind of move back and forth. This thing was like that, except you had grown men basically like pretending they wanted to fight, but not really. It was the stupidest, weirdest, strangest scene that I've seen in quite a while. It still didn't make me good. I didn't, I saw something new out of this film, but it didn't make me feel good that I saw it.
No.
No.
It's not very good. It's really just like a screaming match of like who can flex the most.
Yes, it's like flexing, but 1984 bad movie style flexing.
Yeah, it's sort of like if white people discovered the haka from Maori culture and totally misinterpreted what it's for.
Yeah, kinda. It's real bad. And oh god, what was the other thing? Like, after they kind of like are, nobody actually wants to attack the other because they're like, oh god, then we'll have an actual fight and it'll be bad. Then like Zeg and Ballsack are like face to face and they're just kind of like, I'll fight you later or
Truce?
whatever. And then they run off.
The slavers come, and so they declare a truce at that moment because they don't want to fight the slavers. Which, ironically, gets to my point I made at the very beginning. If they just joined forces, they don't have to worry about the fucking slavers.
And there seems to be enough water to go around. Like, it's a well, and even when you take stones out of the well, it magically fills up again later when you put the stones back, which, strange. I'm not sure.
It's not how wells work, but...
I don't actually know that, that hydrology does that. But
No.
You would know that, Alex.
It actually, honestly, a thing that bothered me was that the water level in the well was actually significantly above the ground level, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I've never seen a well like that. It really all it exists for is to have that scene, right, where they're all ferrying the water as quickly as possible from the well.
Well, and the ladies are dancing because they're happy that there's water to cool their tatas. It's fine.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Just imagine if you actually like took the elements of this film and had to like flesh it out into an actual world. Like there would just be mythologies about like the glorious like titty sprinkling. Like that would be the world we live in.
And there's your introductory song, folks, by the way. I want that written as sort of the prologue.
Titty sprinkling.
Well, they can talk about the good
The
times.
good times. The times
time
when women had
before the
clothes,
Empire.
before the dark times came. And then you can, segue into other things. Definitely I want a little Phantom in there. I want,
Yeah.
because just like the film, the music should not make thematic sense in our musical of this.
Precisely.
I mean, I want you to imagine the amazing duet between Ballsack and his lizard puppet.
Yes.
But it's not just, it's going to be a love triangle. It'll be Ballsack, the lizard puppet, and Zeg. And and the song will be like a trio, right? They'll all sing together.
There was some, when they were declaring the truth. Yeah,
there was some stuff. I mean, and Ballsack, again, sadly an older, overweight man, basically forced to wear diapers for half the film. And then a moo-moo for the other half.
His costumes were not flattering, which is sad because you can dress people of size so that we look good. It's possible.
How did Ballsack get people to follow him when he's basically sitting there petting his anthropomorphic lizard friend all day? How are you? If I'm looking at the two guys who are vying for control here, one is a large corpulent man in diapers petting a anthropomorphic lizard person. The other is a fit person who seems to know how to use a sword and controls the water in town. I'm thinking that there's choices to be made there.
I'm just so mad about, I'm still stuck on this word Homeract because it just sounds like something I'm gonna go buy from Bed Bath & Beyond.
I mean, or IKEA. Yeah. Either one.
The Homeract table is actually very attractive. I was looking at that the other day,
It's fall collection.
With the umlaut side chairs. It's going to be fantastic.
A good addition to anybody's dining room.
Precisely. Can we talk briefly about the fact that Zeg is supposed to be like this leader worth following, and yet he is like dumb as a bag of rocks.
Is anyone in this movie not?
Well, I guess technically Kane's not, but only because he's going up against guys that have
fire's low, man.
Is he though?
He pits them all against each other, and he sneaks through windows.
In the most transparent, like a 6-year-old would, pit his parents against each other.
I'm not saying it's hard for him. I think the fact that it's all quite easy kind of bolsters my point that he's like the smartest one of the lot.
Oh god,
it really is.
Well, I'm not saying it's a very big difference.
That's like the equivalent, low rent Jedi mind tricks. Is I'm gonna find the only two people in the world dumber than me, and I'm gonna get them to fight.
I mean, he catches on to the plot that Ballsack is doing.
Catches on to the plot? You mean he just pauses outside the door where Ballsack is telling his lizard, "Oh, and then I'm gonna murder him and take all of my Terex
He
back."
catches on multiple plots, right? He catches Ballsack's plot, which is I'm gonna kill him afterwards and take all the money back, which. Okay. And then he catches Ballsack's other plot, which is that he poisoned all of the slaver dog people.
I thought that one was actually pretty clever of Ballsack.
Oh no,
to be honest.
It was clever.
I'm still not sure how Kane caught him.
But then he had to go and explain it to everybody in true classic evil villain. Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Why don't it's like the only exposition you get in the film is at the wrong time.
But all I'm saying is Kane, David Carradine, does catch onto these various plots and then spends a lot of time parkouring through all of the little windows in the place, finding Naja at one point and rescuing her kinda from a giant tentacle monster that exists underneath the stair and which is impossible to destroy, and yet he kills it with one blow, even though that blow couldn't possibly have killed it. Right, there's a lot going on in this movie. We have not even touched the surface of all the just fucking weird fantasy shit that they just shoved in this movie. There's tentacle monsters, scorpion dick, four-breasted people. There's a fucking talking lizard. There's slavers that look like dog monsters. There's the two fools who have giant noses and are not quite regular human and run around going all the time. There's a lot going on.
And that is definitely a dislike because that gets anti-Semitic really fast.
Yeah, it felt really anti-Semitic, and it also felt kind of like ableist, because I think they were supposed to be like,
Are they just deformed?
I don't
yeah,
know,
I
but
think
it's
so.
like it's just horrifying and just not great at all. It's like this is, and honestly, if you are a leader and you have folks like this as your lackeys, I mean, can we put a professional front on this? I mean,
Yeah.
like instead they're just giggling like maniacs and just it was so weird, so weird.
It's cartoonish, but
Yeah.
it's not explained in any way that makes sense.
No,
Which is to say, not explained at all.
the actual script is probably only about 15 pages long.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
much.
mean, it's just like
And like at least half of those pages just say boobs. Like,
Yeah. It's so ridiculous. Because none of this movie makes any sense. Why are they fighting over the well? I didn't even know that they were fighting over the well at the beginning. I thought that he was already inside the castle, and then realized no, he was like in the courtyard where the well. Well, then why wouldn't you build a wall around the well to keep the other people from getting the well? This makes no sense.
right. If you have control over that piece of dirt where the well is, just build it a wall instead of having
Yeah.
six semi-competent guards who basically range in accent from high fantasy to surfer dude telling you to get lost.
Or if you really wanted to get to the well, you could just dig like I'm sure Alex you would know this, but like you could like dig to the water table, right? Like from another angle.
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, if there is a productive well right there, you should be able to sink another well anywhere around.
So why don't they just dig? Like this whole
That's
thing
a
is
good
pointless.
Look, and I just want to note my personal offense that like the centerpiece of the first act was this well, and at no point did anyone say well, well, well.
I mean, that would have been an improvement in the
Of course,
script.
we can't have any puns in this fucking
That would have
movie.
been an actual improvement.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Well, okay, I need to get my dislike.
Yeah, you actually need to do your dislike.
So, look, we've talked about a lot of the stuff that I dislike because you could basically dislike anything from this film, but the thing that I'm going to list now is a thing that just annoys the shit out of me, which is the really cheap, terrible, awful lizard person puppet. Because I got excited when I saw that there was like a lizard person that he was talking to, and I was like, oh my god, he's talking to like a lizard thing. That's so cool. Until I saw close-ups of the lizard thing and realized it's just like static and stays and like someone's just off camera going tick 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 and kind of moving the backside to make it look like it's moving. It is so low rent. You actually would have been better off making a lizard sock puppet than this shit. Whatever they spent on this, you could have made a better puppet.
You could have just put an iguana on his shoulder, you know?
Fuck yes. Oh my god, that would have been so much better. Put a fucking iguana on him. That'd be cool. He's talking to a fucking iguana and like, no, and just don't even have the noises. Just have him talk to the iguana. Nobody knows if he's fucking crazy. He's just talking to this goddamn iguana that he has for no fucking reason.
You could have improved both characters with one iguana.
Immediately. It would have made it intriguing. You'd be like, why is this guy in this fucking diaper talking to a fucking iguana? What's going on?
I actually did find it charming when the lizard got kidnapped so that they could exchange it for the sorceress. And then when they did the prisoner exchange, the lizard was basically dressed in the same muumuu that Balsac was dressed in. I thought that was actually
And let's be
super
clear,
cute.
the lizard creature had more clothes than every other woman in this film.
That's true. And the lizard is a
Yes.
woman.
Oh, I did not realize that.
They refer to her as she numerous times.
Wow! So she got all of the cloth, the
Wow.
entire cloth allotment for all the women.
And she's tiny.
Because she's a lizard and she don't have tits. Good for her.
Which is weird. Of all the ones who might need clothes, she's the one that least needs them. Because lizards and
Right.
sun kind of
Actually,
go
this
hand in
would,
hand.
You know, clothes are actually a detriment at that point. Should have just been an iguana.
Yeah, it's just waste.
I would have settled for a gecko.
Any kind of lizard, like a monitor lizard, any kind of large lizard creature that
Gila
you could...
monster could have been fun. Komodo dragon.
Well, I mean, they probably didn't want to have that.
No, they couldn't
around.
afford it. I mean, they could have barely afford anything on this film. Everything seemed to
But
be
a fucking iguana? It's fucking Argentina where they made this movie. It's not that hard to get a fucking
What?
iguana in Argentina. Yeah, they were in Buenos Aires when they made this movie. That's where this was filmed.
I mean, I'm sure Argentina's got a film industry that they probably borrowed everything from.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, this isn't Argentina's fault
No,
at all. In
we
any,
are not
No,
saying
no,
it's
no.
way.
We do not
Argentina's
blame you,
fault.
Argentina.
Argentina, I'm sure, has
No, no, no,
disavowed
no,
this
no.
film at this point. No, we didn't make it here. That was fucking Romania. It was somebody else.
So yeah, so like getting an iguana in Argentina would not have been that fucking hard.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
In any case, that's my dislike.
All right.
Is I just if you're gonna do a puppet, make it good. Otherwise, fuck off into the sun.
As everybody involved in this should have, except for the poor women who obviously, I don't know.
I mean, it was a paycheck, so
Yeah, I was gonna say they paid their rent. Good for them.
This brings us to the end, which means we need to get to final thoughts and a grade. And Mike, since you are our guest, you get to go first. What are your final thoughts and your grade for this movie?
I mean, this movie made me feel all kinds of things except what we would normally call positive emotions. Anger, frustration, disbelief, wonder, but that kind of wonder as in what the actual hell you were thinking. I never want to see it again. I will try to purge it from my memory. And I've seen a few films with you guys that have been highly questionable. We did some Crawl, we did some Highlander 2. I don't know if I have a grade low enough. Like on a scale of 1 to 100, it's got like a -4. It has failed in every single way. It is not worthy of the celluloid it was actually printed on. The people who made this should feel immense, lifelong personal shame.
Well, some of them can't because they're dead.
Their ghosts are haunting.
Can I make that my like?
Thank God some of these people are dead. That's the like. So yes, final grade is the ninth circle of hell.
Lowest, it's F minus. F minus is the lowest.
F minus to the 5th power.
Well, Alex, it now comes to you. What is your final thoughts and grade?
I mean, I spent most of the movie like bored and confused and just like, it's a misogynistic train wreck. It made me think about such things as, why is the water level higher than the land level? What is sunburn on your nipples like? Probably really unpleasant. It made me have like a deep consideration of somebody's breast prosthetic for the lady with the 4 boobs. I mean, really, it just had it all.
To look for something.
You just had to cling to what you could find. So I would say that this movie is definitely worse than nipple sunburn, and I am also going to give it an F minus.
Well, I think all of that's fully justified, Alex. As for myself, look, I'm just gonna say in a very clear and direct manner, don't watch this movie. If you need a reason to technically legally torture someone, you might use this movie, but I still would not recommend that even on my worst enemy, because this movie is terrible in almost every way, is deeply misogynistic in a way that is not interesting, which I don't know how that's possible, but somehow this film is also not capable of
misogynistic yet.
Yeah, it's just not good. It's
Oof.
not. There's nothing going on
painful.
here that's worthy.
The most banal sort of. It's the most banal sort of misogyny I think we've seen, to be honest.
Doesn't even address it. It's just kind of like is.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So what it comes down to is don't watch this movie unless you're doing a podcast like this, and then don't watch it anyway, and just make up, because honestly, you can make up whatever you thought, because. Yeah, fucking who knows?
Like, all you have to do is mention the lady with 4 boobs, and everyone will be like, okay, yeah, that's on the poster, sure,
yeah,
sounds
makes
right.
sense. Yeah. And David Carradine definitely has, like, a whole lot of pec muscles going on, and yeah, 100%. Honestly, sex icon of the 1980s, right, folks?
That hair, too.
He just put the... No, I can't... I was gonna try to make a poncho joke, and I lost it, sorry.
He put the O in poncho? Is that what you're going with?
Wow. And we went there.
That's why people listen to this podcast.
Okay,
yes!
It's an F minus.
Yes!
I hate this movie.
Oh boy.
Easy average. F
Easy
minus.
average, F minus. Basically,
It might be the lowest rated film ever. It's so bad.
it's so
It's
horrible.
It's trash.
Like, you're seriously.
Garbage.
We
Basura.
watched it so you don't have to, ever.
Okay, let's close this show up. Well, thanks everybody for being here for Torture Cinema. As always, we have a special guest, and so Mike, if you'd be so kind, where can folks find your stuffs and things?
You can find my stuffs and things. So the Daedalus trilogy, hard to believe that in a couple of years, the first book's going to be like 10 years old. That trilogy is out on Amazon and Audible. The Majestic 12 series out on Amazon. And there may be some news with regard to audiobooks soon, actually. So that'll be kind of fun. Short story collection available Kindle only for 99 cents. That's kind of neat. I got to write for Paizo. I got to write for Vampire. I did some stuff on my own. And again, I'm on the board of World Builders, so please go to worldbuilders.org. If you don't want to buy my books, take that money and donate it, and then we get to like help feed people and buy masks. So help. That'd be great.
And websites, Twitters, that kind of stuff?
MichaelJMartinez.net, and Twitter is at MikeMartinez72. Michael J. Martinez on Facebook. And I need to get a bookstagram, but I don't know. My Instagram right now is basically like bread, pickles, cottagecore. I really want to leave Los Angeles, I guess. I don't know.
Awesome. Well, folks at home, if you'd like to let us know what you thought about this episode, in case you have some thoughts about this movie that we watched, you can obviously, again, go over to skiffyandfanty.com/listener suggestions. Please do follow us at Skiffy and Fanty on Twitter and Instagram, and get the newsletter at skiffyandfanty.com/newsletter. And as always, if you like what we do and you want to support this show, you can do a number of different things, including voting for us in Hugo Awards, or going to patreon.com/skiffyandfanty and giving us your monies, and also giving us 5-star reviews on the iTunes. We could use many of those, so please do it, or else I will cry. As for me, you can find me at Sean Duke on Twitter, seanduke.net, and also on patreon.com/thejoyfactory.
And I have been your co-host, Alex. You can find me at Katsudonbury on Twitter. My website is katsudon.net, and I talk about movies and TV over at patreon.com/AlexAx.
Well, I will just let everybody know, as it is my goal, as always, to end every episode of this show awkwardly. I have scheduled on Monday to have my quadruple breast surgery, and I will be having 2 extra pectoral muscles added to my torso.
I just want you to live your best life, sweetie.
Well,
I support you.
Look, this is what I've wanted my whole life, was just to have it so that my cat could jump perfectly on all 4 nipples at exactly the same time.
And I feel like we should clarify that the Patreon money does not go for this. So please contribute.
No.
Correct, yeah.
That is entirely
different.
It's his project. It's his self-improvement.
Exactly.
All right, folks. And on that note, awkward ending and scene.
You're welcome, citizens.
Bye.
You're welcome.
If you want to support this show, you can go to patreon.com/skiffyandfanty or skiffyandfanty.com, our website, where you can get access to all of our fancy things. Our music comes from Holy Mole. You can support him and his work at patreon.com/holymole. Thank you for listening.